Welcome to Inside Abode, ladies and gentlemen. How are y'all doing? I'm your host, Dave Jones. We are back with another episode. We are live here on YouTube. So, Inside Abode Live, new format. Y'all know, new year, 2025. And we have a great episode for you today. We are going to talk about what you, the consumer, should know in the 2025 housing market. So, we want to talk about all the things that you're going to know. We're going to talk about all the things that you're going to want to know before you start jumping in, or if you've already jumped in, you're a buyer or seller and you've already jumped in, cool. Like, I think this will still help you uh, with navigating the 2025 housing market because it might change a little bit, or there's a sense, at least in the circles that I talk in and where we're at, is that the rates, we're not waiting for the rates to come down anymore. I don't know how much further down they will come. I can't promise that much, although you just never know. We can't predict the future. But I will say it seems like we're getting used to being in the environment that we currently are in and the price points that we currently are at. And here's what I want to show you on why I think that is the case, because I always like to bring up data. So let's take a look at the inventory. So I'm going to take a look at the inventory in Pierce County. So what we're looking at is the Pierce County inventory based on pending sales. So this is November of 23. We're at 2.7 months of inventory. And what that means is if we were to stop putting houses on the market right now, like it would take 2.7 months to get all of that inventory off the market. So it would take 2.7 months to sell all the homes that are currently on the market. So, and this is based on the pending sales, which means that these are all the sales that are already under contract based on how many are under contract, how many are not, how many are active, whatever. So, so you can see also here that at the end of last year, it actually goes down and it dips down at the end of last year and even into the spring market, our inventory went down. And typically you could probably guess that rates went down at this same time. So, like that's something that probably happened right here. We could probably guess. I'm just guessing. But here's why I said the evening or the steadying, is that a word? Anyway, the steadying of the market. So 2.2, 2.1. So this is from 624, which is, the summer. So you're looking at the summer into the end of the year. Our months of inventory actually just kind of did a straight line. So if you were to draw a line straight through this, that's the trend line, and the trend line would be going sideways. So that means that the inventory just kind of sat in the same range, which means that it wasn't getting eaten up. There was enough incoming inventory coming on, and there was enough inventory being purchased, and we sat at the same spot. And so that's actually very interesting to me. And then the next thing I want to talk about and show you is the housing prices. And so I thought one thing I found that was really interesting after looking at the months of inventory is, remember when you saw the month of inventory on the last one going down? So right here from December, you saw the inventory going down. Well, why that's important is because when you see it going down like that, that usually correlates with the price increasing. So if I were to look at December of 2023, you can see December 2023 right here. Remember on the last slide, it was going down, inventory is going down, and you can see the prices go up all the way into summer, which, June, July, August. And we peaked last year at August for the prices. And then we went sideways with the inventory, and the inventory then, as we know, in December, it ends up going down in the winter where there's less activity. But what does that mean for prices? I don't know, but if I were a guessing person right now, and this was going down, and this inventory dips like it did last summer, what do you think? I'm just trying to walk you to the answer here. I believe that because of that, these prices, if they bottomed in December at 559,000, and this is the Pierce County median price, then I'm assuming that they're going to go up, just like in an upward trajectory, just like you saw here. Rates going down or not, I just believe that that's going to be the case potentially. So that's what I have for you. Let's get into our guest today. But before I talk about that, let's hit that subscribe button. please hit the subscribe button. It's free. We try to bring knowledge and help you understand this market. And we bring on our folks who are really, really good at what they do. And I'm going to bring on the folks that are really, really good at what they do. And we're going to talk about what you should know in the 2025 housing market. So let's bring on my first guest. My first guest is an Abode. She has been with Windermere Abode. Man, she's gonna have to tell you how many years. I just asked Ian Badillo how long he's been. I was gonna say 3 years, and he was like 5, and I was like, what? So my first, she's no stranger to the show. Miss Heidi Hurst of the Heidi Hurst team. How you doing, Heidi?
Good. 5 years. Five
5 years.
and a little change. Yep.
Yeah. See, and that's just crazy because I was talking to Ian and I just was like, 5 years. Like, where did time go? I have no idea. So yeah, well, thank you for joining the show. We're going to talk about what consumers should know, and I'm excited for you to, like talk about what people should know. So, in 5 to 10 seconds, what's going on with Heidi Hurst right now?
Oh, right now, we have been very busy. The real estate market, we've had a lot of people. I have a client who reached out to me they bought their house with me 13 years ago. And they're like, we're ready to downsize. And I was like,
Wow.
I'm here for it. So
Yeah.
we've been busy. We did a lot of business planning last winter, towards the end of the year. And so we were really able to enjoy our holidays and regroup. And now we're just kind of not on fire, but which is a horrible thing to say right now because of California. Sorry about that, everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're ready. We were talking earlier. I'm just ready for the energy around 2025 is just so great. And
Right.
We're ready to serve our clients at a high level.
Right. Well, thank you. Yeah, and don't worry about same fire. But yeah, on the same note, like it's just man, devastating what's happening down there. But yeah, I'm excited for the year too. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a good year for us. I think we're going to continue on the trajectory of stabilizing our market. We went through this really crazy volatile period, and I think the stabilization of the market. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the next guest. Our next guest, who is backstage, it's been a while since Duggan's been on. So Michael Duggan, thanks for joining. How you doing, man?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So tell us, like 5, 10. You've been with us. Well, Duggan's been with us since day one.
Day one. Yeah.
He was in here when we opened the doors to the office in December of 2017. So he's
Yep.
an OG.
Yeah.
You're both OGs at this point, kind of low key. I mean, like at this point, you've both been along long
It's
enough.
not a competition. No.
It's not a competition.
We are talking to Dave Jones, though. Let's just talk about that. He's not competitive at all, and neither is Ann. So anyways,
no.
let's get back to Michael.
We're not competitive at all. Yeah. So thank you for being on. And so 5, 10 seconds. What's going on with Duggan Homes right now?
Just getting ready for 2025. We had a pretty busy last half of 2024, which is all kind of wrapped up. We just had a closing this last week that kind of solidified the end of 2024, and just getting people ready, whether that's for getting them pre-approved and ready for a spring market or getting their house ready to sell. So
Yeah.
but yeah, just fielding a lot of phone calls. This is pretty typical this time of year. A lot of people have thought about it over the holiday, and then they're like, I think we want to buy in 2025.
Yeah.
And so, which, I mean, it's just the cycle. We see this every year. So,
yeah, and I'm excited for y'all to talk about what people should know because you are the experts. You are out in the field. You have been doing this for a long time. So I'm really excited for people to hear from you. So let's just jump right into it. First question. So a consumer, just from a buyer or seller standpoint, when let's say I'm a buyer or a seller, when I'm interviewing real estate agents and brokers or real estate brokers, whatever, however you want to refer to them in this conversation, what are the key questions that every consumer should be asking to ensure that they're working with the right professional for them? And
Yeah.
I'll start with you, Heidi. You can go ahead first.
Yeah. I will start. I would like to defer to Michael to start.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Michael. You
can start either way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first question is like, what locations do you normally work in? Like, I mean, where do you do most of your business? I mean, is that going to be where you're trying to buy or sell. Like, so
Hmm.
having a working knowledge is pretty important of the location. And then also, I mean, what type of real estate do you specialize in? There's all sorts of different types. There's commercial, there's people that do mostly new construction, there's people that do like they manage rentals. I mean, if you're trying to buy a house, like you want somebody that has helped people buy houses recently and
Hmm.
quite often. So, I mean, just kind of getting a sense of like what type of real estate they're doing and where is pretty important.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Is there any other questions that you have that
Yeah.
Heidi that
Those
people
are
should ask?
great points, Michael, for sure. I have a lot of people who ask me, how many houses have you sold?
Mm,
And I always, it's on my resume. It's not something that I brag about, maybe once a year at the end of the year. But for us, it's really more the people that we serve. And so I think asking that question, and it also relates to something that Michael and I were talking about, is, are you a full-time real estate agent?
mm,
Are you able to meet my needs where, like, if I want to go look at a house, or if I'm getting ready to put my house on the market,
mhm.
can you come out again to take a look? So
mhm.
Michael and I both do this full time, and I've been doing it for 20 years. How long have you been helping people buy and sell homes, Michael?
8.5 years now.
3.5 years. So,
Mm.
and if you're a full
Half
time,
of there just to like kind of catch up to you. So
okay. And I think also, that means that we have more experience when we're negotiating, when we're talking to clients. We have more experience in the market because this is our full time job, and
yep.
we
Mm,
sell quite a few houses, don't we, Michael?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if you're full time and you are selling a decent amount or even just a normal amount of houses and are consistent with it, you are more up to date with all the changes in the laws, which we see. I
mhm,
mean, forms changes many times throughout the year. And if you aren't up to date and know what you're doing, I mean, you can put yourself and your clients into a bad situation if you don't know that you're supposed to check a box or
mhm.
input something or add this extra form or I mean, yeah, there's just all sorts of things that if you only do this part-time, you might just not know, which is just happens.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think because, and that's for both agents and consumers alike, it feels like, because I have a lot of folks who might be jumping in and they're not doing it full time. And it's just like, yes, that can cost you a lot of money
Right.
and your clients money in the event that you don't do something right forms wise, because we might have had a new form come down or we might have had a change to a form and you're not paying attention because you're not full time. You're not at the office meetings. You're not, in collaboration with your peers, and you're not in the office seeing what's going on. So,
Right.
yeah, I think that that's really important and can save people a lot of money, actually,
Right.
and
And
cost them a lot, or cost them a
heart,
lot of money.
heartache, I think is more than I mean, money is
That
big,
part too.
but it's just like I mean, you realize that you missed out on the house of your dreams because you're full, like you didn't have the offer written correctly. Like that
Mm,
would just be so awful. I
Right.
mean, not that that's an extreme example, but it certainly could happen. So,
Right.
yeah.
And as listing brokers, we see those offers a lot. We know how to write a compelling offer
mhm,
that will get our clients offer uh,
Hmm.
to win over the other offers. But
mhm,
we see a lot, don't we, Michael, of agents who don't understand the forms, who miss inspection contingency timelines, who
mhm.
don't follow the rules. So it's really important. I think the question to ask is, like, are you up on the local changes in the forms in your industry?
That's a great question.
Forms and rules and laws. I think that's a really important question too.
Yeah.
And Abode does a great job educating
Mhm.
the professionals that are in our office through office meetings, through conversations, through making sure we're attending classes, etc. So
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Any other questions that consumers should ask? And we covered the part-time versus full-time agent thing, but any other questions that you think of that we, as you're thinking?
Just going back to like how long we've been in the industry, I want to say that like just because we've been in for a set amount of time doesn't mean that we're better or worse than people that have been doing it for longer or shorter.
Mm,
I think it's more that full time and like basically having both feet into the industry is really important. But I mean, ask how long they've been in the industry. If it's 2 years or less, make sure that ask if they have a good mentorship program. Do they have somebody
Mm,
looking over all the programs? Do they have somebody helping them answer any questions that they don't have? Because that's pretty big.
That's true.
But and like Heidi and I have also worked with people that have only been in the industry for 9 months, a year, 2 years, that do a great job. They've done a great job because they
yeah.
have the proper um, support, which
Mm.
is really important. We've also worked with people that have been in business for 15, 20 years that are not great. So yeah.
Yeah, and that there's a sliding scale, but that's why it's important to ask these questions because like any profession or like any in teachers or sports or whatever, there's a sliding scale on. We're not saying this to deter people from using like we're not saying this to like like disparage anybody, but like it's just the fact that there's a sliding scale and it's about what's good for you and what do you prefer. Do you prefer someone that's data driven? We were just talking about that. Do you prefer a data driven realtor? Do you prefer this or that? Like
Mhm.
those are all different things, that preferences that people have, and I think it's really important that they ask the right
Yeah.
questions. So
Right. And
you
Michael
know
and I remember when we were new, don't we, Michael? Right? When it was new and we were trying to figure things out, and we were smart enough to go to an office that provided support in that. And there's a lot of offices or brands out there that aren't providing that same high level of support. So
Mhm.
I'm going to give us a little pat on the back because we committed when we got into this industry to like try to give it our best, and we were going to go to the best people with the best information to help support us, which in turn helps our clients, which in turn continues our referral business because somebody from 2013 calls and says, I didn't know as much in 2013 as I know right now. And so
mhm,
they still came
facts,
back to me and like, now I'm smarter and more experienced.
facts.
And, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next question, which is more, and I kind of touched on it a little bit. What data points should consumers consider, if any? And I kind of went over some of them. Like, does the price matter? Does the like when you're going out and looking for homes for someone, is there any particular data points that you lean on to just let people know kind of where they're at in the marketplace? Or I don't know, is there any, it could be nothing, it could be whatever, but what do y'all look for?
Heidi, I'll let you take the first.
The first one on this.
Yeah.
My two favorite words in real estate are "it depends." I think you mentioned that
Yeah,
earlier this week.
yeah,
And really, Dave, it depends on the client and the needs of
yes,
the client. And so we could give them data points um, all day long, but until, for example, for a buyer, they walk into a house and it is their house, right? And
hmm,
they're falling in love. And Michael and I are the ones that are there saying, okay, we're looking at your financial investment, you're looking at your emotional investment, and we're looking at your financial investment. So think about
mm,
these things. So, and we can't predict the market. Boy, Michael, if we could, right? You'd be hiking, I'd be laying on a beach. It would be a whole different experience than what we are. But what we do know is how to guide our clients through nuanced changes in the market
Mhm.
and to give them education and to help them make that best decision. It's really a lot, not really about stats or information. It's about really listening to our clients and
mm,
finding out what they want and helping them remind them of the things that they want and then helping facilitate that best outcome for them.
Yep. I
yeah,
feel like stats definitely help with history, and you can kind of see some patterns of like months of year and different things like that. But it really takes being inside these
hmm,
houses, inside of
yep,
contracts, and like
Right.
just feeling things to like actually get a pulse on the market.
yep,
A lot of times stats kind of lag a little bit too, and things
hmm,
just change. And also, it's just so house to house. One house might have multiple offers. It might go well over and like at the top of the market, and the house right next door might not. It really depends. There's, so many different things. And our job as agents is to give you all the information, provide it to you. If you're paying too much for this house, I want you to know that you're paying too much for this
hmm,
house.
hmm.
But if that's the only way that you're going to get it, then that's up to you to make that decision. We're not here to push you into anything. Sorry, Heidi. It looked like you had something to say.
Yeah, no, I can't remember. Menopause. It's okay.
No, I just learned about that, by the way. Like I was just we so me, Maya, and and Mello, we were driving on the tour Tuesday, and I was learning about menopause on the way down, and I was
Oh
like, okay, I get it. I get
yeah.
it now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um
Yeah.
to yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
oh, that's what it was. See, I remembered. So you made me laugh, and then my brain kicked in again. This, I would say, in the last 2.5 years is the first time that I've really been very having conversations with my clients about interest rates. I mean, we
Mm,
were talking about it during the pandemic years. Oh, 3%, et cetera. But when I'm talking, I sat down with a seller on Monday, and I said, I'm going to give you a pricing strategy, but let me tell you that if interest rates go up even more than where they are now, that's going to affect where you're going to list your home, because
mm,
it's the buyer's payment, which includes the price, but it's really their payment that they're going to take. And so
mm-hmm.
that's a data point, woo woo, that we could,
Hey.
that I am just, did I really talk to my clients about that before the pandemic? No, but I'm talking about them. Buyers always, but sellers, it's really coming into play if we're going to talk about where interest rates are and how that's going to affect your potential buyers, payment.
Mm,
So much of real estate is empathetic thinking and just understanding both sides of a transaction and understanding, like, yeah, I mean, buyers are looking at their down, like their payment at the end. Like, how much is it going to cost me to get into this house? How much can I afford per month? And what makes sense? And yeah, as a seller, like, it's so important to like understand that, like, okay, on the other end, like me selling this house at however much money is going to cost this buyer, depending on how much they put down, like $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and that's a lot of
mm,
money per month.
yeah.
So I mean, it's just understanding that, and because sellers a lot of times they might be paying $2,000 a month for that same
Right.
house right now. So it's getting everyone on like understanding where everyone else is, because I mean it all matters.
Yeah. That's
Brilliant.
the- that's the part that I was thinking as I was hearing both of you talk about the data piece, and what what I hear is like, or what I've seen is a lot of people, or a lot of them are like, am I paying too much? Like I think Dugan, you mentioned that. Am I paying too much, or am I paying? And what's your wants and needs? Like, is this the house of your dreams? You might have to overpay sometimes for things that you want. I mean, we do it every day. We pay for iPhones and stuff like that. We're definitely overpaying for an iPhone, like, or
Yep.
whatever, your mobile device. So I mean, we overpay for a lot of things that we want as long as they bring us value. I
Right.
think that there is no price to something
Mhm.
that you really love and like,
Yep.
and so, like, on the flip side of that statement, I think there is no price. Isn't that the case for, like, when you see a seller who's really sentimental about their house? There's really kind of no price that can put a you can't put a price tag on those memories and that sentimental value. You know what I mean?
True.
So I guess it kind of depends on the, like you said, Heidi. It depends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Every
Um,
situation is different.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Every situation different.
A
Go ahead.
couple times, well, in my career, many times, but definitely last year, we talked a few clients out of buying a house that they were under contract on because the
Mm,
inspection came back. So
Yep.
that would be a question that I would ask a real estate agent. Like, when was the last time you told your client this was going to be too complicated or difficult, and it's going to cost you a lot more money than you might have? And so
mm,
having that experience
Mhm.
and saying, like, this might not be the best decision for you at this point.
Yep.
mm,
Um, and we've I know Michael's done it as well, but to have enough business being a full-time agent selling houses, being able to say, like, hey, this isn't a good idea, right? And then they can make
mm,
their own decision. They're grown adults, but giving them that knowledge and that expertise of, you're going to have to fix this plumbing leak, and we don't know how bad it is, and we don't know,
mhm.
like, what's, how long it's going to take to fix it. And the seller's not going to do anything. The seller's not going to do anything
Yeah.
to fix up their house.
Right. Have you seen any differences in and this isn't a question, this is just riffing. Have you seen any differences in terms of the types of transactions that you had in 24 versus 23 or 22 or 21? How have they been different in 24? Are they more sticky? Is there just more, because we say, like, you hear a lot of people say, and I've seen this on all kinds of 2024 stuff, right? We're doing the year in review things, and we say 2024 was hard. What is hard? Like, because to consumer, they might not know that. Like to consumers, like, well, what's hard? Yeah, well, it was hard for me. I had a back surgery and that. Well, what does that mean in the real estate space when agents say this year was hard, or and says it's hard? What does that mean? Was there any difference in the transactions that you were doing? And if so,
Yeah.
what were some of those small nuances things, if you have any
Yeah,
examples?
I mean, back before interest rates went up, um, houses were selling with 20 offers. I mean, 10 offers, 8 offers. Like they were selling with a lot of offers. You bought the house in whatever condition it was, and usually you didn't have any negotiation rooms. And so, like, you just bought the house. Sellers loved it. Buyers had to deal with it. I mean, they got a great interest rate, but at the same time, like, there's no like negotiation on all this stuff.
Mm,
Negotiation was all during the actual like offer, and just to try to get yourself into it. Since interest rates have gone up in 2023, 2024, um, with a more level playing field between buyer and sellers, there's a lot more negotiation happening, which is good. I think it's healthy.
mm,
Means that a buyer and seller can, like, I mean, maybe a seller's not selling for as much as they want, and
mm,
maybe a buyer is not getting everything they want. But I mean, I don't know. I've negotiated a lot more roofs. I've negotiated a lot more sewer lines for my buyers. On the seller side, I've like had a lot more negotiations and talks of like, hey, we're not going to get that price that we talked about, and we talked that this might be like a solution, like a
mm,
possibility that we are going to have to like either decrease or take somebody with a bunch of closing costs or things like that. And buyers are getting
mm.
some closing costs, but again, it's depends. Some houses,
Mm.
some houses you have to like just waive everything, and like I'm not necessarily waive everything, but like that is sometimes what is the winning offer on some of those special cherry houses. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. Heidi, how's it been different for you in this last year?
Can I be candid?
Yeah, go ahead.
Um,
It's a safe space. Come on.
I've been doing, 20 years, 8.5 years. I think that emotions were much higher last year. It felt like
Mhm.
it took a lot more pausing and negotiations and trying to get everybody to calm down, including
Mm,
real estate agents, including myself. I'm going to say, right? I'm not going to throw other agents under the bus. I think that when you put pressure, and there's such a dynamic change in our industry as far
mm,
as how buyer brokers get paid, and
Mhm.
taking that extra step to educate people. And I think that kept everybody's emotions a lot more amplified.
yeah.
Sellers were struggling with like, how are we going to make this work? Buyers were like, this is a lot. Like, buyers want the best house.
Right.
They just want the best house because they're paying, as Michael already noted, like such a high interest rate. So I think it was hard because emotions were high.
Mm,
It was not just real estate last year. There was an election,
Mhm.
there's there's things in the, what do you call it? The economy that are happening.
mm,
There's racial issues. There's what's happening? Horrible hurricanes and wildfires. And
mm,
so I think just last year just felt a lot more intense in a lot of different ways. And our job, and as Michael knows, is to be like the calming force, the
yeah.
professional,
Mhm.
that is going to like keep this together if that's what the parties want, and what's the best solution. That's a great question to ask a potential
Mm,
agent. Like, talk to me about your solutions. Like, when was the last time you had a problem solved? Because I
Mhm.
feel like in real estate, we wear so many different hats, but a huge one, and I know Michael is an expert at this, is, just finding the solution. And
yeah.
so trying to keep people level-headed enough to find that ideal situation. It's kind of like a divorce. Nobody feels like they won in it, but it happens,
Mm,
right? And so it's the same thing. Everybody was like holding on so tight to, like what they were going to offer and what they were going to negotiate, what they weren't going to give up, that it was different than the pandemic years. And I've been in that year. I mean, I sold during the Great Recession when clients wanted to look at 100 houses, 120 houses that were on the market, because nobody was buying houses, right? And so prices were a lot lower then too.
yeah.
but you had negotiating power in that if you were a buyer. So
Yeah.
that's
No,
my
you both. I think those are both very poignant and very interesting things to hear, because I think what consumers need to hear is that stuff. You can negotiate more. Well, and the reason why that's a big deal is because we don't negotiate in our regular life. You know what I mean? Like, you don't go to the grocery store and barter over how much you're going to pay for the
Mhm.
bananas. Like, and so we're not well practiced in negotiation in general. And so I feel like those two things tie in when you talk about when Michael's talking about, yeah, negotiation is a little bit more now, because the buyers aren't just like having to do whatever the seller wants anymore. They can come in with some negotiating power, and that then requires, or that results in emotions, right? Like you're talking about, Heidi. So I mean, when you tie those two things together, what you both were talking about, I think that's that makes it hard.
right.
Both strategically and tactically and emotionally, like I think you both just touched on both parts of it. So thank you for sharing that. I think that's really good. Anything else you have around that? No, you good? I want to say also, if you're watching this on YouTube, shoot us a question. Like, I'm down to, like, if you have put something in the chat, go ahead and shoot a question. I can see it, we can see it, and you basically just ask us and we'll answer the question. If you do have a question, ask and we'll answer. Or if you have something to include, feel free to comment. Just it's a live chat. So let's see, what's the next question I have for y'all. Oh man, this is kind of general. We've already kind of been talking about this, but should consumers, buyers or sellers, be prepared for any specific thing in 2025 outside of what we've already talked about? Like, should they have anything prepared? What should they have prepared? Like, as they start to cut, if it's someone that's already been looking, cool, like they probably have kind of navigated this, whatever. But if it's someone getting ready to jump in, what would you we've talked about the questions, but what should they do to prepare for this market?
Well, I mean, they should do the same things they do for most markets, which is get yourself pre-approved, get yourself connected with a great local agent. That, yeah, and just get yourself ready for the right house. Because I mean, real estate, you can't really time it. Back in 2019, we were all thinking that the bottom was going to fall out of the market, and then
Mm,
COVID happened, and we're in a completely different area now, and it's you just never know what's going to happen. So, um, I mean, if interest rates rise, we'll probably see softening of the market a little bit. If interest rates go down, the markets like prices will probably go up a little bit.
hmm
So, I mean, all you can do is just prepare yourself and start the process of,
Jesus, take the wheels, basically what you're saying. Jesus, take the
well,
wheel.
yes and no. I
You
mean,
just
really
take the
practically
wheel.
about it. And then as far as like selling, like you're just get your house ready. Don't just put it on the market. Like clean it up, make it look
Yeah.
nice, fix the biggest issues, and you'll have a much better
Okay. So
time.
for sellers, basically what you're saying. So if I'm a seller, is my house going to sit on the market longer, shorter? Should I expect 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, a month, 2 months? What should
Depends.
I? Oh, it
Depends.
depends. It's that thing
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Mhm.
God dang it. You
Talk
guys.
to your full-time professional full service real estate agent and they will
Oh,
educate you.
It
oh,
so
Yeah.
depends on what your goals are and how you prepare yourself for the market.
Yeah.
And also the property itself too. I mean, that has a huge aspect to it. But I mean, if you're just going to throw it on the market and hope to get the tippy top of the market, you're setting yourself up for failure. You
mm,
need to set yourself up for success, and then also be like realistic that like sometimes setting yourself up for success and reaching for the tippy top, if you don't have a plan, if it doesn't work and you don't have a plan, you're just going to sit there forever. I mean, have a
mm,
plan, have a schedule of like when you're going to come down, and then you'll find where you sit in the market eventually if you're proactive about it. And I mean, Heidi and I are going to make your house look as good as it possibly can, or going to help you make it look as good as possibly can.
mm,
The marketing is going to be fantastic. Um, so, I mean, it's more just like what's the market doing, and
hmm
we're going to try to set you up. as best as possible.
Okay. Heidi, what do you think? So in terms of sellers, should they be prepared for longer times, or it depends?
Well, again, as Michael said, it does depend. And you just really need to rely on who you're going to hire to help you navigate that. You can look online and get an estimate for what your house would sell for. But you really need to talk to a professional who's going to best present your home so that you can get top dollar for your probably your biggest asset that you might own. So we're not talking about it's not the same as buying a car for everybody. I mean, for some people it may be, but this is your biggest asset. The one thing I want to say about sellers is that or 2025, I really have this experience because of my clients. And so it's like this, like 1,000% of the market, but
Hmm.
I have a lot of people who they need to sell in order to buy. And so I want to remind sellers that they should have equity in their home. If they bought their home, they should have actually
Hmm.
a pretty good amount of equity if they bought their home before 2022. And so really talk to your real estate professional about the best way to use that equity in order to help you get into your next home.
Mm.
I think we're going to see a lot more contingent offers. And if it's the
Mm.
springtime, right? I mean, there's a lot of buyers out there who are trying to make that transition. And I had a few last year. I have many more this year. So it might just be, again, my little area. But what is the best way to set you up for success? Because if you look at the stats that you put up there, Dave, for the
Hmm.
beginning or the springtime, right, where there's low inventory, that's a really challenging time to be a contingent offer. So really
Right.
just talk to a real estate agent sooner rather than later.
Okay. So can you answer this though, real quick? What is a contingent offer? Like, I don't know what that is.
That's a whole nother podcast, Dave. That's a whole
what's the
different
what's the
podcast.
what's what's the layman's term of what
So
does
a
that mean?
contingent offer is where I have a house and I've gotten pre-approved for my next house, but I need to sell my house in order to afford the next house. And so
Mm.
I need my house to close with a buyer before I can purchase that second house. And so what it does is it just kind of starts a train to where you kind of have to have different dominoes falling in line in order to make it all work out.
Okay.
So boilerplate language in our contracts is that if we put in an offer that is contingent upon our house selling, we have to have our house on the market within 5 business days.
Okay.
That is quick. That is really
Yeah.
quick. And so it's important that before you even step foot into a house, you need to talk to an agent about this process, get yourself ready. I've even had clients get their house staged and photographed before they even put in offers, just so that they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I mean, sometimes a seller would be willing to take a contingent offer, sometimes not. Maybe Heidi can talk about the pros and cons as a seller, and all like this might just educate both buyer and seller, like
Hmm.
why this might be difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you put your home on the market, so Michael is my seller and he puts his home on the market, the best opportunity for him to keep the most amount of money in his pocket is at the very beginning of the listing.
Hmm.
The very day it goes on the market and the next 5 to 7 days after that, let's just say. The
Yeah.
consumer is very educated. They have access to all of these homes. So if Michael puts his house on the market, he's going to get the most amount of interest in the first, let's just say, week. And
Hmm.
so he's going to be in the most powerful position as a seller in order to sell that home. He's not too inclined to take a contingent offer, which means, hey, it's the second day on market, and I'm going to write this offer for my buyer that says, hey, Michael, guess what? 2 days on market. And my client is going to give you this offer that's really good, but you have to wait until we get their house on the market, and then they have to get it under contract in X
Yeah.
amount of days. And what if interest rates go up to 7.5, right? That could totally stall the whole thing. So Michael, as a seller, is going to take the best offer that he possibly can, because that's his most winning position in the market, is at
Okay.
the very beginning. And so, have we had people in the office who've won in multiple offers with a contingent offer? Yes, they have, right?
Mhm.
So there are people that are skilled, people that are skilled to do that.
Mhm.
But so really just talking, so, and as a consumer, knowing that, right? You might have an extra $200,000 of equity in your market because you bought it in 2020 or 2019 and the prices have gone up. Home values have gone up, and prices as well. So you've got this nest egg. So what's the best way to use that nest egg to get you
Mhm.
to the next place? And that's why you need somebody like Michael to sit down and talk with you, to say, like, hey, like, this is going to be or anybody at Windermere Abode, right? To give you the best opportunity so that you can win in your next step in life, right? This is not just a transaction of houses. People here in our office are all about the people, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Together, working together to try to facilitate this best next so important step in your life. And we're just one little tiny part of it, but we've committed to be professionals, and we've committed to give it our best, and give you the straight up information that you need so that you can make the best decision for you and your financial outlook.
Yep. And there's so many different ways of selling a house and buying a house and making that work, and talking with a really good agent and with their lending partners and with, like,
Right.
there's just, yeah, there's all sorts of different ways,
I
including
took us down a path.
things.
Sorry, guys.
No,
No,
good. It's just, I mean, it's just so important to, like, just have these conversations early and with the right person.
Yeah, what about like wants and needs? Does that come into play for y'all, like in terms of like decision making? Because like you mentioned earlier in the podcast, like you get into the negotiation piece and it gets really tense potentially for some
Right.
folks, and
Right.
emotions and get involved and all that. Because like I talked to, someone just picked up keys like not too long ago, earlier this week, and he walks in and we grab the keys and he's just like, that was hard, man. And I was, because he's like, first house. And I was like, he was like, that was hard. And I was just like, yeah, it's a roller coaster. And I was like, so could you have done that without a realtor? And he was just like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So when you get into those times of when it's crunch time and you're negotiating, or you have to get a response in by a certain time, and you're haggling over a wash or whatever, do you ever have to get people back to like, hey, what are our wants and needs here? Like, do you ever have to walk people back in that? And because I don't think people are prepared for the emotional roller coaster of
Yeah.
that. So what should consumers know about that part of it?
The conversation I have with a lot of my clients is that you're buying this house not for 2 years, you're buying it for 5 to 7 at least.
Mm-hmm.
So be comfortable with growing into this house, or working from home in this house, or whatever it is you foresee. Like, you need to be, like, willing to be in this house for a while. And I mean, if you're starting a family or all this other stuff, like, just don't think that you're going to be able to turn around in a year, 2 years, 3 years, even 4 years, like, and be able to, like, sell it and have enough for the next down payment and all this other stuff. Because market can be volatile, but typically, I mean, over history, like, if you've been in the house for 7 years, you're going to be good for the next house.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's something I talk to my clients too, like, especially when working with maybe first time home buyers that maybe have lost out on a few houses, they start getting desperate. And I mean, just because you're desperate doesn't mean that's a good reason to buy a house. And
Mm-hmm.
so we just want them to, I mean, Heidi and I, whenever we walk through a house, we also are thinking about resale in the future, because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's just what we do. We're not thinking, I mean, what ideally for that first time home buyer, we want them to buy the 6 out of 10 house that they can do a few things to make it a 8 out of 10 house. Because there's no such thing as a 10 out of 10 house. So we just want, like, I mean, can you replace carpets and some countertops and you're going to love this house? Awesome. Great.
Right.
But I mean, if the house layout just doesn't work for you, you can't move the house. And also changing the layout is kind of difficult too. So those are just some things that I think about. when trying to help guide people through the process.
Yeah. I
Good
think
stuff.
also Michael's point, I know he's got a great resource for somebody to replace the carpet and somebody to
Yeah.
replace. The real estate agent should be so well connected in their industry that they've got great professionals to refer to. I mean, they can't be perfect professionals, but at least we've got a database within our Windermere Abode community. But personally, like I have a great carpet cleaner, you know,
Yeah.
I've got a great painter, etc. I think the other thing that's really helped this last year in negotiation is like, what is the bigger picture? Because in negotiations, when you're in that tense negotiation, they're arguing about this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And in the bigger picture, it would be better for you to, let's just take a step back, right? This is $1,000 compared to if you put your house back on the market, or you have to go out and search again and put another $1,000 into an inspection. Like, can you financially facilitate this next step and taking them to the bigger picture of why we're here? It's not about this $1,000. I mean, it is, because it's precious money. Like,
Yeah.
Michael and I know what $1,000 can get us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all know some people work really, really hard to save up their money to buy their house. It is their biggest investment typically. I mean, these wildfires in California is a just shocking reminder of these people invested in real estate, and their investment is no longer. And so I can't even imagine the devastation with all of your neighbors that you're going through this process with. So I think for me, that's been the biggest like game changer in my negotiation with my own clients. In the bigger picture, like everybody, and explaining, like everybody gets stuck on this one thing. Like if you leave the curtains in, that's going to be the one thing that everybody's arguing about. But in the bigger picture, these curtains may not even fit in your house. They, you know, like, does this really look like something you want to take to your next place? Right. And so also like adding a little bit of humor into it, right? Like they want to keep their 1970s curtains. Let them keep them. Like, you don't even like the 70s. You're looking at like new construction stuff at the beginning. So, right. So it's just kind of also like adding a lot of humor and adding a lot of like lightness to this whole process, because we all get real intense about it. So, I mean, that is one of the good things about walking into Abode, is that we always have something to talk about, but we also have something to like laugh about. Like,
oh yeah.
Michael and I had a few of those conversations this year. Like, really, is this really what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel, you know what? I feel them because, you know, I walked up in the closet. This shirt that I got on is like 9 years old. It's probably over a decade old. You know what I'm saying? Like this is, and so I'm not trying to lose this shirt. And if you
Right.
say something about my shirt, I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of my thing right now.
Right.
Like I feel them when they get feel some kind of way about something.
Yeah.
But so thank y'all for that, because I think that's all of this information is really good, and I think it's what people should know. It's all the nuanced stuff that people should know, and we'll continue the conversation on. That'll be the last question. We'll wrap up. To wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to share? I'll give each of you the stage to share anything else to wrap up before we move on.
I think so. I mean, we live in a culture that we want the best. There's no the best. There's good fits, good personality fits. I mean, I'm not going to have as good of a relationship with Heidi's clients and vice versa. We find our people. I mean, so part of talking to an agent is making sure that it's a personality fit. And do these people hold similar values to you? Do they also like, are they, I mean, good at what they do? That's number one important. It's just like, are they good at what they do? And can they guide you through this process? And they're not going to push you to making decisions you don't want to make. But it's just, I mean, finding your person is pretty important throughout this process.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's true, Michael. Yeah. I think just also work with somebody who's going to sit down and spend time with you and educate you. That time, it's not like, hey, you want to go look at this house? Yeah, like I could show you this house, but what do you really want? Like, let's sit down. Let's talk about what the process is to sell, what the process is to buy. Let's make sure that you step into this situation with as much information, right? You're going to rely on, but any professional that you would hire to facilitate any big transaction for you is going to sit down and talk to you about the pros and the cons and the expectations. And I think
Yeah.
that we do a really good job of that when we sit down with our clients. And so that's another question. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
educating you as to what your position is in the market, whether you're a buyer or a seller.
Make sure you understand what you're doing, like what you're signing up for. That's my job is to
What? Wait, what?
clearly like explain like these are like the bullet points and there's minutia underneath that, but like let's understand like what you're getting yourself into. So there's no
Right.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big thing. It's just a big part of someone's life if they're going to go through a process of buying or selling a home. So thank you both for that. Are y'all ready for the last part? I know y'all already know what's coming. It's hot take.
Yeah, I love
It's
hot
coming.
takes.
It's
Let's go.
coming. Hot take. Let's go with the hot take. All right.
Let's go.
So books or movies? Go ahead, Duggan.
books.
Ooh, Heidi.
Books. Voracious reader here. Love books.
Oh, okay. Both books. Okay, cool. Living in the future or in the past, Heidi?
Oh, I'm trying really hard not to live in the past. So I'm going future.
I
Duggan,
definitely live more in the future than I do the past.
in the future. All right, cool. All right, Duggan, work from home or the office?
Both.
Oh,
Yeah, I like both, but I like being here, but I tend to work all sorts of places, including coffee shops and other places too. But I Windermere Abode's a great place to be. So whether it's working or just hanging out, it's nice to be here. So.
Yeah.
appreciate that. I didn't pay him to say that, y'all. Anyway, keep going.
Well, I used to love to work in an office because I had my own office.
hmm
So I work from home. Plus, I got a dog a couple years ago. So, me and my pup, we're just hanging out here. I'm working from my money, and she's sitting there looking good and keeping me company. So,
There you go.
yeah. So I'd
That's
say
good.
home. I prefer to have an office, but I work from home. Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Yep.
All right. So this one's a big one. And I don't want any wars to start here.
Okay.
Heidi, pineapple, does it belong on pizza or does it not belong on pizza? Pineapple on pizza or no?
I'm going to say yes because I love sweet things. So pineapple is sweet. So I'm going to say
Oh,
no on a pizza. Yeah.
okay. So no pineapple on a pizza.
No.
You don't believe?
No, I
Oh,
believe
okay.
in pineapple on a pizza. I'm okay with that. Is it my
Oh,
favorite?
you're okay with it?
Yeah, Heidi likes it, and she's wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. So Dugan, no pineapple on pizza, huh?
I like pineapple. I love pineapple. But pineapple on a pizza,
Not your thing.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. How about this one? All right. This
It's the
one.
hot, juicy sweetness that I don't like. It's like, yeah, it's a
You don't like it? I feel like we struck a nerve. I feel like we struck a nerve here. I feel like we struck a nerve.
I think if it was dry, like dried out pineapple, I could be a little bit more into it.
Okay.
But yeah, for some reason, it's the hot, juicy. I don't know. It's just not good.
It just don't fit. It just don't. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's why I had to preface that one. What's that? You want to know what I think?
Tiebreaker. What do you think?
I enjoy pineapple on pizza.
Okay.
I
You guys
enjoy
can
it.
both
I
be
think
wrong
it's
over there.
good.
That's fine.
All right, here's the last one, and this one might be a little tough, or maybe it's not tough. Live to 200, and it's guaranteed you're gonna live to 200,
Mhm.
or $1 million right now. More time on Earth, or you get $1 million and you die at night at 80 at the. I'm adding, but there's got to be something. There's got to be a catch.
So there needs to be a little more context for this question because I mean,
Okay,
if
right now
I-
I'm gonna
if I-
give you. Right now I'm gonna give you $1 million,
yeah,
or
no,
you can live till 200. That's up
But
to you.
am I living like I am right now till 200, or do I get to like age the same, but then it just kind of becomes like
You stay the same as you are right now till 200.
Oh, 200 then. That's fine.
200.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could like enjoy life the way I am right now, yeah, 200, absolutely. But if I like become 90 and then 100 and 110. And I look like I'm 110. And I'm like, body functions are not working great. Like,
Nah, I mean 200 is kind of crazy. Like you're gonna be a shrivel of dust by the time you're 200 if we go like that.
can I get to 100 and then start aging backwards from there?
Benjamin Button style, maybe.
Benjamin
Yeah,
Button
why
style?
not? Why not? Why not? You get to 100 and you go backwards. That would be fire.
That
That
would
would
be
be actually really
sick.
fire.
And I sign me up for that. Yeah.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool.
Brilliant,
Actually,
man. I love it.
yeah.
You're smart. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank y'all for coming on the show. This has been really fun. Heidi, first, how do they get in touch with you? And then Duggan, how do they get in touch with you? Heidi, go ahead.
You can follow me on social media, Heidi Hurst, Heidi Hurst team, or my own name, Heidi Hurst 253. Or you can find me on the internet. Google Heidi Hurst Tacoma Realtor, and I will be there with the team. Yeah.
All right. Duggan.
Yeah, so on social media at Duggan Homes, my wife and I do all of that stuff. We also have dugganhomes.com, which has like local blogs and other things and all of our listings and more information about us. But
Yeah.
you can also learn more about us on the Windermere Abode website too. You can check that out. It's a beautiful website. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank y'all for coming on. I appreciate y'all. And for those of you all who watched in the live, thank you. We had a lot of people coming in and out. And if we didn't get any questions, I did see someone on the chat. I apologize. Oh, let's go team. Yeah. Yeah, I see you, Will. Yeah. Hey, Will be tapping in, man. Will taps into the lives. I appreciate it. Will good. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil. You're the
Yeah.
best.
We'll be tapping in. So thank y'all for coming on, and there will be more of this in the future. So thank you, and we'll see y'all next time. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Thanks, Michael.
With that,
Thanks, Dave.
Windermere Abode.
Bye,
Peace.
Bye.
All right, that was it. Thank you, and if you keep it open.